Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video I'm going to talk to you about the Baker Act and why, after you went to the courthouse and filed for a Baker Act, why is the state of Florida suddenly involved in this whole process? So let's back up a teeny tiny bit and just go over the three ways that you can initiate an involuntary detention under the Baker Act. In other words, how somebody gets locked up inside a Baker Act facility. Number one, the issuance of a professional's certificate by a qualified professional, such as an emergency room doctor, a licensed clinical social worker, somebody like that, or law enforcement. The police get called to your home. Somebody is potentially suicidal or threatening to harm themselves. They can initiate a Baker Act. And the third way is that you go to the courthouse and you fill out the paperwork that the clerk of the court gives you, and you ask the court for an emergency ex parte order for assessment under the Baker Act. And then if the court decides based on what you submit, the person meets criteria, then the police come and they execute on that pickup order that's been issued by the judge, and they take the person to a receiving facility that is a licensed agent of the state's mental health system. So understand that the Baker Act statute is not a treatment statute. It is not designed to treat anybody. And if you initiate a Baker Act, don't be surprised if your loved one doesn't get any better, because it's not designed for treatment. What it is designed for, and when it's done correctly, it's a very powerful, very useful, life-saving tool that even in our practice we use, but on a very limited basis. It is a statute that allows the state of Florida to take custody of somebody when there is an immediate need, an urgent need, an emergency need for some type of services, some type of behavioral health intervention because somebody is in crisis, such as when they may be suicidal or threatening to harm themselves or something of that nature. That is what it's designed for. And so most of the cases that we see in the office where somebody has been Baker Acted, and we see a ton of Baker Acts where somebody should not be taken. We do see some where they should be taken, but the bulk are, at least in what I see, are unlawful. The bulk of those are where the police get called. Okay, somebody called 911. They had a loved one who was in crisis, and so they called 911. Now, it is my opinion that if you have time to go to the courthouse, fill out the paperwork, wait for the judge to issue an order, and then have time for the police to come and execute that order, that it's probably not an emergency. The Baker Act is designed specifically for situations where it would necessitate that 911 get called, or where a qualified professional deems the person to meet criteria and is willing to issue the professional's certificate and then calls the police to come and get you or your loved one, depending on who is the respondent in the case. Now, you can execute it, you can obviously petition the court, but if you can petition the court for somebody to be assessed under the Baker Act, what's the emergency, right? What are you hoping to achieve by that? But however you did it, and normally those cases, by the way, where I see somebody went to the courthouse, it was normally done because somebody gave the family really horrible advice. Go and file a Baker Act. And then they call us crying because now their loved one is stuck. No one's talking to the family. And here's the icing on the cake. And this is where the state has stepped in, or should I say, stepped in deeper into the case, because once you've been Baker Acted, you actually become a temporary ward of the state of Florida. The facility that is holding you under lock and key behind a secured door that can physically restrain you as if you were in jail or in prison is a licensed agent of the state's mental health system. So even though you went to court and you filed the case, or you were the one that called the police, once you do that, once the Baker Act has been initiated, your loved one is now a temporary ward of the state of Florida, and your rights to make decisions for them are terminated. They are over. You can no longer make decisions for your loved one. Your loved one's right to make decisions for themselves. Terminated. They're over. You know who gets to make decisions for them? The state of Florida. Their agents, the doctors, the clinicians, whoever is working in the Baker Act facility, they're the ones who are going to make decisions for your loved one. And so if you've gone to court and you filed this petition, it's been granted. The facility, the state of Florida, is then free to petition the court for an order of extended detention, potentially up to 6 months. So here you are trying to get your loved one help. You filed this thing with the court. It's a private cause of action. And then the state has stepped in and said, thank you very much. We have it from here. And so what you've done unknowingly is you have basically handed your loved one over to the state of Florida. I know you didn't mean that, but that is what has happened. And so the Baker Act is not designed for most of the people who try to get their loved ones help. It simply is not intended for that. So there are other options, Guardianship Management Act, perhaps even some non-legal interventions. But if you initiate a Baker Act, especially if you run to the courthouse and you file this petition, the state has now taken your loved one away from you and you've handed them over. I mean, that is the Baker Act in a nutshell. And if you are looking to get your loved one help, even if they haven't Baker Acted, the time to do something is before that order of extension, or before that order of extended detention is granted. Because when someone is Baker Acted, one of two things are going to happen as a general rule. One, they're going to get stuck there. Or two, they're going to come out after 72 hours, which is not going to make things any better. It's probably going to make it 10 times worse. Because now your loved one comes out all ticked off, all upset with you, and they are definitely not going to want to go to treatment after they have been subjected to this. So that's my 2 cents. I wanted to share that with you. I know I've put out other videos begging people to stop using the Baker Act for its unintended purpose, okay? If it's an emergency, call 911, okay? If you're not willing to call 911 because you don't think the circumstances are appropriate, then probably shouldn't be running to the courthouse and filing this petition, because that's when things go south. Anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. If you liked the video, the thumbs up would be appreciated, and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.